Fun is here. Hello, and welcome to How to Build a Fire Season 7. I'm Jackie Breezen.
And I'm Lily White.
We are co-hosts for the next season, and we are figuring out how to be on Zoom and live, and it's been just so much fun so far. So thank you for coming tonight. We are going to just go ahead and launch in, get started. We're really happy to have you here. Lily, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
I'm a musician and writer, and when I was asked to do a story a few years ago, I was petrified not having a piece of paper in front of me. And I had such a great time that I started coming, and I've been watching them on Zoom now, and it's always a treat to see what people are doing with their lives and getting an insight to people's stuff. I have this button here that I wore for this occasion, pure nonfiction, which I thought was appropriate. And yeah, I'm excited to meet this year's storytellers.
Okay, thank you. I am a writer, and I took on lovely and art getting my first season, and I'm still living to think about it, but it's almost done, so that's kind of what I'm up to right at this moment, and we are excited to have everyone here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and introduce the first storyteller, Lily.
Yeah, I'm getting a text here from somebody that says maybe you should mute yourselves. I don't know if that's for the people on Zoom or.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, one of them top left is not muted.
But I think How to Build a Story often doesn't want.
That's us.
Yes, doesn't want everybody to mute, but actually more. So it's up to you guys. Should we mute everybody?
That one. Mute that one.
And that's Terence. Oh, he's out there. What if he wants to speak? I guess he can just cover this. Okay.
All right, but it's good. All right, everybody else is muted, right?
All right, well, I'd like to get started here. Our first storyteller tonight is an old friend of mine, and is a medical professional. So I'm sure she has a lot of interesting stories from past year. And when I first met her, she showed me, I think it was a graphic novel story that you had written, and I was pretty blown away by it. And I'm just blown away by her in general. Lora Dibner, please welcome Lora Dibner.
Woohoo!
You need the mic audience quiet. You're talking into the computer, looking at the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you want to stand as close to the computer as possible.
Is that good?
Sorry, we're getting arrested.
Back away.
So last week, I got to hold a baby. I held it up to my shoulder, its warm, round head nestled in the crook of my neck. It had seemed irritated, and that's why I picked it up. So I was in comfort mode, just holding that baby tightly. It was naked under the little cloth that had wrapped it. I held that baby during my therapy session, totally in my mind. My therapist had asked me to close my eyes and see what came up when I was talking about how I keep myself from losing control, keep myself from being in the moment. Holding that baby felt so real. I was just with my heart open. I can do this, I had said to my therapist. I can do this comforting, opening my heart to this little baby's heart. The rest, I have no idea. I feel like I'm just on wobbly legs. I am a parent outside of my imagination. I have 2 teenagers. My oldest, my daughter, 17, we just brought to school. It's her first year, her first semester in this crazy time. We had 2 cars in our caravan, and I was so happy that I was in the car with my daughter, just the 2 of us. The car was crowded with her stuff. It had taken weeks for us to get to that very moment where we had packed her sheets and her towels and all her clothing. We'd even bought a few things to cheer up her dorm room, like a string of jalapeno pepper.
Yeah.
About the time that I went to school, the first time I went to my first year, my first semester, I had flown, I didn't take a car, and my mother didn't accompany me. She wasn't feeling well. She was taking a lot of experimental medications to try to stop the cancer that started in her ovaries. But I went, and I started my first semester. I got to go home for Thanksgiving, and we had a meal together. But a few days later, on December 1st, I was back at school, and I got a call that she had been hit. It was just before my first semester exams. Your Grandma Sue would have been so proud of you, I said to my daughter. It felt weird to say my mom's name. She had died so long ago, and my daughter had never met her. So I said it again just to make it sound real. Your grandma, she would have been so excited for you, I said. And this time I felt the emotion curl up in my throat, and I felt some water forming in my eyes. And my daughter turned to me and she said, "Don't do that, Mom." And in my knee-jerk reaction, I said, "What, have emotion?" She said, "No, don't die." I said, "I'm not gonna die." But I thought about it. I was 18, my mom was only 52 when she died. At that moment, I was sitting there with my daughter, and I just felt like we were on the top of a high cliff, looking over and just seeing a sea of clouds, just unknown before us. The drop-off was pretty uneventful. We took all of her stuff and put it on the sidewalk outside her dorm. We all had masks on, none of us able to go in and see her room. But I do remember when we said our final goodbyes. We were in a small parking lot across the street from the main campus, and I remember it was covered with white gravel that would move beneath my feet that were moving around. I put my arms out to her in a gesture to give her a hug goodbye. But it was a different kind of hug when I folded her in my arms. She gave me the full weight of her body. She leaned in and squeezed me so tightly. I remember thinking, I'm not going to let go. I'm going to let her decide when to let go. And the words were in my mind, I am the mother. I'm the mother. And I felt so confused, such a mix of emotions, excitement and fear and confusion and wonder. How was I supposed to support this person in this transition? I didn't know. It's going to be okay, I said. Over the next several weeks, I got lots of phone calls from my daughter. Sometimes it was little things like which classes she was choosing or a change in her schedule. One time it was about how to make the best cup of coffee in her dorm room from the ground beans we had bought from the day before she left. Other times it was a deeper conversation. She wanted to make friends, good friends. It was taking longer than she wanted. She was feeling frustrated. I was sure when I said to her, I am here for you. You can call me anytime. I am here. I can guarantee that. But what I didn't know, what caused my mind to just spin out, the wheels turning, was how to support her more than that. I would drop little bits of wisdom nuggets. This too shall pass. Just work towards what you want. You know what you want. You've got this. You know what to do. Sometimes it takes longer than you want, but work for it, you get there. I just never knew if it was enough. The most phone calls came during Labor Day weekend. I think it's because there was just so much downtime and there was such space between connections you could make with others. I myself was having a friend's weekend too. A good friend had his birthday, and he and his husband have a place out in Western Massachusetts. And I was invited out there with another friend, and the four of us We
Oh,
cooked,
that's in the
fun,
gallery right now.
laughed, played games. We drank coffee, filled out Mad Libs. It was a great time. And the calls would come from my daughter. And sometimes they would take just a few minutes, and sometimes it required more attention.
No, it's a storytelling evening. It's a series that has been going on for years.
What nobody saw was the time I spent, the moments that I would spend beyond when I said goodbye to her. I would be wondering, was I there in the right way? Was I supporting her enough? What had I said? What hadn't I said? On Monday of Labor Day, my friends took me to a magical place called Bare Ass Beach. You can't see it from the road. You have to go down a long, winding path through the trees. And tacked up on one of the trees is a sign that says, "Caution, nude sunbathers ahead." Well, my friends who had been there many times before, they were comfortable. They got in the buff right away. But for me, I felt unsure. I wanted to get nude. I wanted to feel the sun on my skin and the water all over me. But I felt scared too. It's that same thing that stops me from being in the moment. I sat there in my lawn chair, kind of finding the edges of where I was at. Slowly, I took one strap down my shoulder and then the other, and soon I was naked in my lawn chair, except for the waterproof sandals on my feet. My plan was to get into the river. It was a skinny little river running through, and nobody was there in the part where we were. So I was going to get over there, get in the water, and then just enjoy the surroundings. So I got up, I ran over to the edge, and foot over foot, rock over rock, I went into the water, and I was submerged up to my neck. What I didn't realize is that the water was freaking freezing. And it was like pins all over my skin, jabbing me here and there. My jaw clenched, my shoulders went up, my neck was so stiff, all I could see was the dark water surface. The voice in my head, with clear instructions, said, "Get out. Go back to the lawn chair, get the towel on you, warm up, and this will all be done." But it's not what I wanted. I wanted to lay there, enjoy the scenery, be in the water, have my moment. So my daughter came to me, and I thought about those little wisdom nuggets. This too shall pass. This will be a memory. Work for what you want. Put in the work. It may take longer. You may have to work harder, but you can get there. So I said to myself, you know what to do, so do it. And I started to move my arms back and forth. I started to pedal my feet like I was on a stationary bike, but it wasn't working. A little faster, a little stronger, it still wasn't working. Now I looked totally calm from the neck up. From the shore, you had no idea what I was doing. But underneath, I was a tornado back to there. I started moving my arms back and forth. My legs were flailing in all directions. I said, work for it, do it, you got this, get there, get to the other side. The muck from underneath was flying up. Little white petals that had been on the surface were getting drowned by my ripples. But it worked. It started working, and instead of these pins against my skin, I started feeling the pressure of the water, and it was warming. I was able to slow down my arms, slow down my feet, stretch out and lay back. My sandaled feet broke through the surface of the water, and I could see my pale blue nail polish just glistening in the little bit of afternoon sun. I put back my head because my neck was so relaxed, and I actually submerged my head within the water up to my hairline, and the pool felt good. I looked around. I could see the rock wall to my left, beautiful slate gray, with trees growing out and up, patches of moss in varying shades of green, and bushes at the waterline with little white flowers. My favorite view was the sky above me, blue peppered with fluffy white flowers. And as I lay there, I felt so proud of myself. I had gotten to the other side. The pain was just a memory. I had mothered myself. In one of the phone calls I had with my daughter, the lowest point, she had said to me, "I'm hopeless. I have lost all hope." in this moment, being in the nature, laying on my back, I thought of her, and the word hopeful formed in my mouth. It left my lips, went up into the sky, caught the wind, and went over to my daughter. And then it went up into the unknown, and it reached my mother, who said the word hopeful back to me. Thank you.
I love that description of the hug with the full weight of her body and the idea that you didn't let go and you let her make the decision of when the hug was going to end. I thought that was just beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a wonderful story. I can talk, I'm sorry. I think I'm terrified of the thought of being inspired to be naked in the water, but thank you for sharing. Okay, so our second storyteller tonight is Mary Jane Beatty. Mary Jane, I'm going to give full disclosure, was very kind and generous. One of my storytellers was unable to participate tonight, and she was referred to me, and she diligently accepted, and I'm very grateful to her. So I'm going to read you her bio. She is a writer, creative director, and author of Dumped, the ultimate guide to getting over a breakup. She is a creative director and launched Fast Company, among others, and the creator of podcast Glorious Frauds. She celebrates passionate, inspiring, often unconventional women over 50. Finally, I have made the cut. She continues renewing, reinventing, and speaking about what it means to stay relevant and fierce. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Jane, thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy about being here. So I've occasionally looked at my notes. I only had a day. So I love the theme Alone Together. And this is a COVID tale.
Wrong person. 1 second. Yeah, I have to go back. No, sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry, really.
Okay, there you go. You're the spotlight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was Ivy. Okay. So as I said, it's a COVID tale. So things are somehow tarnished. That was the word I heard, tarnished. I was outside my guy's office. It's a home office, and I was sneaking. Yeah, I was sneaking. My ear was pressed against the door. Basically, I was acting like a 7-year-old, not the 70-year-old that I am. He was Zooming with his daily men's therapy group at 8 a.m. Now, he's a smart guy, and he's a quiet guy, and he doesn't talk much, period. And certainly not at these meetings. He doesn't usually share. So the moment I heard him sharing, I bolted out of bed. Wasn't very nice, but I had to hear it. Only to hear tarnished. And I thought two things at the same time. I thought, yes, he is as miserable as I am, and I'm free. And the second one was tarnished. What a great word. I will use that. It is day 77 of quarantine, and well, things are not going well in this idea of living together. We were good daters. We were even great daters. 70 or not, we had a very good chemistry together, and everything about him was thick, if you get my drift. While he's a man of few words, what came out of his mouth was funny. I loved his combination of construction worker who loves art films. That was a good combo. And he he had a beautiful apartment across Central Park West. I had my own apartment, but it was a nice perk. He's called himself a sex god once, which is an obnoxious statement, but it's not after a great roll in the hay. So he got away with it. There was a problem though. I was a go-out girl and he was not a go-out guy. I was very much the New Yorker who loved theater, clubs, music, but to his credit, he adopted his life toward me, and we were a New York couple. There was another little twist in our relationship in that I loved living alone. I loved my deliberate solitude. And I have been married 3 times. And what have I learned? I love living alone. He lives uptown, I live downtown, a perfect setup for my needs. On the odd weekend, I would be at his place. We would watch, it was very cozy. We'd watch a lot of movies in a row. That was a red flag, in a row. But at the time, it was bliss. Things were sweet. And then the inevitable, let's live together. Why are we both paying such exorbitant rents? I said, no, 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 not going to happen. But then it happened. Pandemic. Decision time. So if we were going to have our cozy time, if we were going to have this vibrant sexual life, I agreed to a test. I moved uptown. I had to say goodbye for a while. It was a test to my Cary West Village apartment, and it made sense. Well, it was interesting because there were no distractions. There was only time, but within I would say a couple of weeks, COVID really changed things. The obvious, we were suddenly in each other's faces 24 hours, and we're home constantly. We're basically hermits. You know, we were all hermits. But a weird thing started happening to me. I started liking this at-home time. I started digging it. And I started my own creative renaissance. He built me a sweet little studio, an office, and I was starting to blossom. But him, not so much. He'd recently retired and he was slowly, frankly, going bonkers. He didn't know what he wanted to do, and no options were available to him. In the apartment with the roommate, me, and the TV. The TV was on. It was on always. Movies, shoot 'em up movies, big dick energy movies, bang, bang, bang. No French films. And when that wasn't going, the news was going. Up to the second updates, and we remember what the news went, well, it's just as bad now. But this just in, everything still sucks. And Trump. It was a hard pass. For some reason, he did not get the earmuffs, whatever the hell you call it. He didn't get it. And so I had to hear that in my office. Well, unfortunately, the on-screen episodes did not match what was going on in the bedroom. I brought to his house because it had been this way. Lots of Jean Harlow blush nightgowns. And let me tell you, within, I would say 3 weeks, I was in sweats all the time, not giving a shit. So along with no sex came 7 o'clock dinner, where we would watch more news. I want to make it perfectly clear, I was not the perfect roommate either. It was just this very fast demise of a romantic situation. Where was my sex god? What happened to French New Wave, baby? On one hand, my soul was crushing slowly But on the other hand, I was flourishing. And I'm going to tell you what was going on with me. I became determined with my headphones on. I had headphones. The more he crammed his head with other people's stories, with the movies he watched, the more motivated I got to make my own. So I did. I dug up these stories from, 4 or 5 years ago, and I started writing every day. So here we were in these two entirely different worlds within the same apartment. So the man would never see me. I'm in what became my bunker. And the only time he did see me was when I came out and I said, darling, would you please turn that's bullshit. I did not ask him to turn the TV down nicely. I would go ape shit. I was a screaming banshee and told him to turn it down or I will kill him or throw it out the window. It wasn't a good situation. So I really see the tarnish now. He was sad. He was depressed. And with him becoming more sad and depressed, all I could do was fantasize about escaping with each passing day. It was no longer a relationship. I was hostage, held at TV point, and we were both hostages to the corona. So I left. I left during the pandemic. Tarnish clued me in. Turns out that being a screaming banshee was not the way to hear him. And it wasn't the way to make him less sad and depressed. Did all of my complaints that I'm sharing with you make it easy to leave? It was not easy to leave emotionally because I thought he was it. He was a great guy. I've had a lot of its, I assure you, but I thought he was it right now. And then physically, it wasn't easy to leave because we're in a freaking plague. And I'm a very sexual person. I didn't want to start from scratch, which I certainly am now. It's like, no nookie for a while. During the height of all this badness, I had little rituals, none that involved him, but I became friends with a great 85-year-old, hilarious sage. And it was she who said to me, you have become an emotional hostage. Great word, I will use that again too. And realizing that I had lost myself at 70, that was the real impetus to leave. So I was lucky enough. A friend of mine had a country house, a sweet little country cottage that was available really just 5 days after I left him. And my main concern was, do you have a TV? And the answer was no. All I heard during the day, I just left it, was birds. All I did during the day was write. And I cooked. I'm terrible, but it was fun. I ate my meals at any old time I felt like. It was just, my old New York life, I'm letting go of. I mean, New York won't be that for a while, but I'm in this new place. My guy chose a relationship with a television. And I never felt so isolated as I did when I was living with him. I was living with him and I was living with Trump. This time I'm choosing a relationship with myself and alone, yet somehow I feel so much more connected to the world, this beautiful, living, very flawed world that we live in. So my alone time has been hard-earned and I'm merrily embracing it. That's it.
Beautiful. Good luck with your new life.
Thank you.
One second. Do you hear us?
Yeah.
Mary Jane,
Okay.
you are a great pinch hitter. I really appreciate your story, but I think you had that one waiting for us. And it was really beautiful one to hear about finding yourself. And then you've broken like every fantasy that I have about finding.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm muted. All right, my fantasies are over. Okay.
No, she's not muted.
No, it's muted.
Oh,
No,
God.
but that's the
No, that's
camera.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, right. But I muted it. I could,
Keep going.
Sorry. All right, folks, live TV, and I'm only pretending to be an actor. So Lily is going to introduce our next storyteller.
Ready? Here's my striptease. So, our original storyteller was going to be Francis Jacob, but it turned out that it was his birthday today, and his wife surprised him with renting a place upstate. So he's going to go next month. But I have an old friend of my daughter's who is not so old, but I've been hearing stories about this guy for years. And I think he ranks as one of the most interesting, are you 20? 19-year-olds in all of Brooklyn. Put your hands together for Wally Elliot.
Hello, all.
Well, I gotta take your mask now.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
hello, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful night tonight. I wanted to say I didn't know exactly what I was going to talk about tonight. I didn't prepare anything, but I was thinking about memories I've had and a good story that might scare you to sleep. You know. No. So this story I'm going to tell you is very dear to my heart, not necessarily because it impacted my life in any great way, but more because I hold it as an emblem of the mystery of life in a way. Anyways, one night, my friends and I were a bit sick and tired of being in the light all day. It was summer. We were very tired, and we decided we wanted to be completely and utterly alone. It was hard to do in New York City, and so we got on the subway train. We were going to go somewhere, but it wasn't alone enough. And so on the way, we passed by all the places we used to camp out at, play ball at, where we used to sling sludge at each other in between train tracks. I passed by the place we would climb and use as jungle gyms. And we finally decided that we would go into a basement we'd known about for a long time. We were very interested in getting into it. The problem was that we had to swing on a rope ladder to get in. And so we all decided we would do it, dressed very comfortably, all in black. We felt like shadows, kind of just slipping through the night. We found ourselves on the corner of a block. There was a junkyard behind us, and in front of us was this old factory right near IKEA. It says, "I love grandma." Anyways, we did our usual rounds. We looked at the new artwork on the walls. We got spooked, and we would scurry about wondering if there was someone with us. And all night, it felt like something was off. And so we get into the basement. We'd almost slipped into the water. We find ourselves surrounded by pentagrams and 666s and awful, horrifying, devil symbols and all that. And we see a hallway that has nothing in it. We go into the hallway, we turn left, and we see at the end of the door a vault. At the end of the hallway, a vault. And we twist it. We have our flashlights out. We wonder what's inside. And when we open the door, we just see shining white eyes. And as the room clears out, our vision unblurs to new depth. We see standing there a goat. And we remain silent for about 15 minutes. We We didn't know what to say. We didn't want to touch it. We didn't want to speak of it. We just turned around and went home. And ever since then, the static you see at night turns into waves crashing on the seashore. Yeah. You feel like there's something to discover. So that's my whole story.
Might have stumbled into a sacrifice there. A goat? Oh, that reminds me. My wife works at the state park. They found headless goat, 2 headless goats and 2 headless chickens in a bag at the park this week. Weird.
Wow.
So we do have to change it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I shouldn't say that I eat goats, right? I do. It's actually a delicacy, but I don't think I would eat one that I found live in New York. Let's put it that way. Okay. So, okay, I want to, before I introduce our final storyteller for the evening, I want to thank everyone. Now I remember to take off my mask. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Lily and I are excited about the next year. This was our first run through, and we're looking forward to even more fun for the next 11 months. Yay!
Blended fun.
Blended fun. Our final storyteller for tonight is Ivy Wolf Turk. I'm going to read you a little bit of her bio, but it is extensive. Ivy Wolf Turk is an ICF certified life and professional coach in private practice, a champion of freedom, an internationally recognized inspirational leader, social justice advocate, and author. She is the founder of Project Liberation, where she works with women across all stages of criminal justice involvement. I'm trying to find, it's a long bio. I will say, I'll read you another line. Ivy has a unique perspective on incarceration, homelessness, and reentry. A former exec in the advertising and real estate world, she found herself caught up in a situation with criminal consequences and was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. While incarcerated at Danbury Federal Prison Camp, Ivy taught GED, English literacy, yoga, journaling, and meditation. So that's what's on paper. Ivy and I met each other, oh my goodness, I think 4 or 5 years ago at a workshop, and we have been a support for one another ever since. I remember when she started talking about the fact that she was going to do Project Liberation and she was going to have classes. I took 3 buses on Tuesdays so that I could be there in her workshop. And we've not stopped being there for one another. So I'm very happy to have her as one of my first guests tonight. Ivy Wolf Turk.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everybody. I was imprisoned in my outwardly successful life long before I was actually sentenced to 5 years in Danbury Federal Prison. By the time I walked out of my 7x7 cube for the last time, living there for 47 months, having been released early after an investigation showed that I didn't actually commit the crime that I had been sentenced for. I was homeless, penniless, and destitute. And I realized that it shouldn't take a stint in federal prison for a woman to find her worth. Spent the last couple of years looking at the fact that prison, although prison gave me nothing, it certainly took a lot away. And the thing it took away the most was the ability to be proximate to my family. It's March 15th. I'm in my little studio apartment, happy, planning my next Project Liberation workshop for Friday. Clients have been finished for the day, and the phone rings. And it's a client saying, Ivy, I've lost my job, and I'm not going to be able to coach with you anymore. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, this COVID thing, they're shutting us down. I've been furloughed. I can't afford you. And I said, well, that doesn't really matter right now. Let's keep going. Let's work on moving and looking forward. And someday when you can afford me, we'll figure it out. We hung up and I thought, gee, this COVID thing may be starting to get serious. The phone rings again. It's a second client. Ivy, I'm freaking out. I just got laid off. I'm not going to be able to coach anymore. I had to call you and let you know. I know our appointment is later today. And I said, okay, you're the second person that's gone through this. Let's just keep going. Let's figure it out together. Now I'm walking around my apartment and I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on? Like, oh my God. I'm no stranger to limited movement, and I'm no stranger to limited resources, and I'm no stranger to limited freedoms, but this is feeling like all my options are starting to foreclose. And then the phone rings again. And it's the Department of Health to inform me that they're shutting down and our program in Harlem is no longer. I hang up. I can barely feel my toes. How am I going to pay my rent? Well, okay, I've got 5 speaking engagements lined up. That'll get me through. Something's going to happen. And then the phone rings again. And then I check my email. One after another. 1 through 5. Canceled, postponed, canceled, postponed. Now I'm freaking. I had made it in a place with 200 suffering strangers. I had come out knowing, homeless, penniless, and destitute, that if my sisters couldn't make it in this world with felon written on our foreheads, that I had to do something. But now it was 7 years later. I had crafted a life that I loved, a life that was not that lucrative in money, but made me feel rich. And I didn't know what I was going to do. The world was shutting down. There was fear. How was I going to survive in this one little room? And then I thought, Ivy, you made it in a 7x7 subterranean cube. You'll figure it out. You've got your doggy. You'll figure it out. But I was scared. And then the phone rang again. I didn't want to answer it, except I saw on caller ID it was my son. Anytime I get a call from my son is a lucky day. Mm-hmm. Our children are grown. They range from 40 down to 33. And the one thing that I wasn't able to regain post-prison was what I left the day I walked out of our home. Because by the time I came home 47 months later, they were grown. They'd become self-sufficient. They'd crafted lives that, God bless them, were thriving and were not centered around our family as much anymore. And I said, hey, Bran, how you doing? And he said, Mom, you got to sit down. I said, okay, are you sick? And he said, no. But Tina and I have been talking to Germany. Tina, his wife, is German, and they had a 15-month-old baby, my beautiful granddaughter, Tali. And we've been talking to family and friends in Germany all day. And Mom, the curve's about to hit. People are dropping like flies in Germany. And I don't want you to take offense, but you're 64 years old. You're a cancer survivor. We've got to get you out of here. And I said, oh, Brandon, stop it. You're being ridiculous. You're acting like a nervous Halalia. Meanwhile, I'm dying inside because what I don't want to be in that moment is the scary mom that he watched 21 FBI agents at gunpoint stuff into the back of a squad car. The mom that lost everything I had worked my whole life for, and forced my kids in their very late teens and early 20s to go out in the world without me and without any support. I didn't want to be that mom. So I didn't want to tell him what had just happened in the last 4 hours. And so instead I became defensive. I said, you're being crazy. We're going to deal with this. You're in Long Island City. Kelly's up in Harlem. You know, the other kids are fine in Brooklyn. I'm here in my cute little apartment in the East Village. Everything will be fine. And he said, Mom, you're not hearing me. This thing is going to get drastic. You're going to be locked down. There's going to be nowhere way to get food. It's not safe. You have underlying issues. I said, Brandon, I haven't had cancer for 19 years. I'll be fine. And he said, Mom, you're acting weird. You think about it and call me in the morning. Well, the first thing I did was go downstairs to artichoke pizza. And 2 slices later, I was sicker to my stomach than I could have imagined. I came upstairs, I was pacing around. I hadn't smoked in years, but I wanted a cigarette. I didn't know what to do. Here he was saying we had to leave. We were better together. Everything that I always wanted from the day I left our home was being offered to me. And so I sat and I thought, Ivy, what is important to you? Are you going to let your pride and fear get in your way? Or are you going to walk your talk? What would you do if this was one of your clients? What questions would you ask them? And so I went to sleep that night fitfully. I tossed, I turned, I cried. I held on to that doggy as if it was the partner of my lifetime. And I thought, okay, you got to call and you got to tell him the truth. You got to fess up. You got to risk it. Because the real truth is there's nothing more important than being with those kids. And all of us, as he said, are better together. 7:30, knowing they'd be up with the baby, I called them and I said, Bran, he goes, you want to tell me why the fuck you were acting so weird last night? I started to cry and I said, because I'm ashamed. I lost all of my income in the span of 4 hours yesterday. And just as you called, I was feeling hopeless and helpless. I didn't know what to do. And then he started to cry. And he said, really, Mom? All that matters is that you're here. What good is it all if you're dead? We need you. We just need you. We got the other kids on the phone, and within hours, we'd located a house upstate New York. We packed our belongings, and the next day we left. Well, the matriarch without a dining room table, the mom who had felt ashamed all these years, borrowing other people's houses for holidays, sewing beautiful pillows for them to sit on the floor and eat turkey on their laps, who had rented restaurants and private rooms and tried everything. The matriarch without a dining room table finally had a dining room table, a beautiful dining room table in the woods, overlooking deer and mountains. And little Tali, every morning I woke up and there was that cry, Nona, 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 come get me. And I'd feel and smell that beautiful little girl, sneak her upstairs, make her oatmeal. As I made my coffee, I was in heaven. Not only did I have a breakfast table, I had a lunch table, I had a dinner table. I started playing Top Chef with Brandon. It was like a cook-off every night. And while we all sequestered in the only private space we had, which were our individual bedrooms, we were alone, but we were together. And I just kept noticing how the life that I had left, the life where I was no stranger to limited freedom, resources, or movement, this was not really strange. In some ways, it was abundant for me. It was unbelievably abundant. The one thing that was most important, I finally had. And from that, I was able to take walks in the woods with the baby and the doggy. I was able to food shop and cook and share meals with my most trusted and loyal and loved children. And every day I thought, this is what life is really about. And then the phone started to ring. And the clients that I'd been coaching for free, and the ladies of Project Liberation who I wouldn't leave because we were a community that needed each other just like my children and I needed each other, the phone started to ring. I got a new job, I can start paying you. And then the Department of Health called. Ivy, we've been hearing from many of the ladies, both alumni and your current group alike. We hear you've been doing the group anyway on teleconference and you've converted it to Zoom. We want to pay you. Your contract is back in force. And then I got the call from my first canceled speaking gig. It was almost like daily miracles were happening. The more I was filling and soul quenching my authentic and genuine values and desires, the more the universe was saying, hey girl, you were running and networking and living 7 days a week, trying to make things work. And now from a place of making yourself work, of soul quenching, filling yourself with your values and what's most important to you, the thing that was missing all these years, you've got a well filled, overflowing with water. And we are going to send you people whose cups are empty. And so today, I have more coaching clients than I know what to do with. Project Liberation is well and thriving. And then the call came, another phone call from the landlord of the house. It's June. We're sitting out on the deck. The kids are drinking beers. I'm playing with the baby. She's playing with the doggy. I'm in heaven. And the landlord says, I'm sorry to inform you, but before the pandemic, we contracted the house for the summer to another family. And we hoped all these months that they wouldn't want to come. And they do. We were in shock. What now? It's June. The city is still on lockdown. The cases are climbing every day. We're going to be separated. We've gotten used to being together and being alone together. There was a safety in it. There was love in it. What were we going to do? My reaction was, we got to start looking for houses now. The ex-real estate developer and me came out. Come on, guys. Get out your computers. We got to go. It's time. We got to go. And they looked at me and said, Mom, it's Saturday afternoon. We've worked our asses off all week. We're tired. We'll deal with it tomorrow. I got angry. I stormed downstairs. What aren't they understanding? I thought. I don't belong here. Like, they're not getting it. Like, this, something's wrong. What's wrong? And then I realized that the time had come. It wasn't that I didn't belong there. It was that there was another part of me, a part of me that was more than Mom. A part of me that wanted to secure a place, to continue coaching, to continue speaking, to continue facilitating, and to continue what was really starting to emerge, which is what now? At almost 64, what am I going to do with my life? Can I live in that little room by myself with the doggie? Do I want to live in the woods, so nurtured by nature and all of this? Have a place where the kids could visit when they want? What about me? And so this place of not knowing which role, I was in a tug of war between mom and me and my needs and my desires as mom. And so the next morning we had a family breakfast and I came clean again. And I said, guys, I think the time has come that we separate. Rather than look for another house, I think this time it's important for me to try living on my own. Maybe in the woods, definitely not back in the city. I need to see what I'll do next. They then admitted that they were going to try to go to Germany. Kelly wanted to try to go and fix up her backyard in Harlem. And it was almost as if a relief had opened with the truth. So went downstairs. I cried. It felt like a beginning and an ending. It felt big. It felt immense. And then the phone rang. And it was my friend who I had visited for the last 6 years since I've been home from prison on a beautiful lake in Brewster, New York. And she said, Ivy, it's your lucky day. She knew nothing about what was going on with me. I said, what do you mean? I'm not feeling that good right now. I probably shouldn't have even answered the phone. Could I call you? She goes, no, you can't call me back. There's a cabin on the lake of the 28 cabins, and it's free. And the couple that met you last summer wants to give it to you so you can write your book this summer. I thought I was hallucinating. There was no way I was hearing these words. Was I dreaming? I wasn't dreaming. I was up. I was on the phone with her. I said, what do you mean they want to give me the cabin? She said, you heard me. They want someone to house sit it, and they want someone who'll appreciate it. This was after all the worry. Who's going to rent to me? They'll do a background check. They'll find out I'm an ex-felon. Not that it's not something I hide. And so I hung up the phone. I went upstairs. I said, guys, how would you feel if I moved to a cabin in Brewster? Kelly said, on the lake? And I said, yeah, well, how did you manage that, Mom? I got in touch and told the truth. And I guess the truth set me free. I'm speaking to you tonight from the lake. I've spent 3 magnificent, quadruply soul-quenching months here. The kids have visited. The doggie and I run through the woods every morning. I am coaching, I am writing, I am painting, I am cooking. I am full. And the fuller I am, the more I can live in service of others. And the more people are coming for that service with empty cups, that I am happy and grateful to share what I have. Wow. Thank you.
Oof. Wow.
Beautiful.
No.
Okay, now I can talk. I remain one of your biggest fans. And am I still muted?
No.
Can you,
No.
somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, thank you. Okay, Lily.
Yeah. I wanted to thank all our storytellers, Lora, Wally, he went off with his friends to find another abandoned building, I think.
And a goat.
And a goat. And Jackie, thank you for being such a great co-host. This is all new for me, so I'm excited.
It's new for me too. Thank you, Mary Jane. You were wonderful. I'm gonna think about your story all night. And Ivy, you know, we're living this story together. I love it.
Amazing.
And thank you.
Thank you to the audience and everyone that came. And my daughters are out there somewhere. Thank you, because I called them and they said, "You've got a thing in 10 minutes?" I'm like, "Yes, we need an audience." So thank you.
Thanks for Terence Degnan for doing How to Build a Fire, 7th season. It's been a great success. And thank you, Monica Ver, Open Source, for letting us use the gallery and putting on great art in the midst of all this stuff. We really treasure you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next month, Friday of every month. So keep looking at the website. They have a Facebook page, right? Open Source Gallery Facebook page, and also the regular website under events. It says HTBAF, How to Build a Fire.
And I didn't make the new symbol, but I thought about it, or I thought of it.
But I think the ideas are there.
Yeah. I have great ideas, but no skills. But this is but it's cool. So that's my daughter laughing. Okay, so anyway, thank you.